Hi, if you want to watch exclusive content with hot girls that you won't watch on YouTube, namely where Naruto roasts Kushina and Mikoto and many other hot girls without restrictions, then visit my Boosty channel at the link in the description.
Night. It's a dream world. So quiet and calm. At night, the world freezes. The lights go out, the streets are empty, the whole world is shrouded in darkness, a graceful moon and a starry sky. This is what night is usually like, but not here. Tokyo. The city of night lights, the city where life is always in full swing. The fair-haired boy was lying on the cold asphalt. His body was in terrible pain, bleeding. He couldn't feel his arms and legs, as if he didn't have them. The boy barely opened his bright blue eyes. He looked at the dark sky with small bright sparkles. Sasuke flashed through his mind. He took a deep breath and exhaled. A light steam came out of his mouth. It was cool. It smelled of something. He didn't want to just lie there, and the guy began to look closely at the stars. Oh. The constellation looks like Sakura-chan's fist. Remembering the image of a pink-haired girl with bright emerald eyes, he smiled. That one reminds me of Akamaru. Every time he remembered his friends, the blonde started laughing. He didn't lie like that for long, and eventually he got tired of just lying like that. The guy first turned his head, looking for someone or to figure out where he was. He could hardly turn his head, because it was hellishly painful, but still, he was able to make out someone lying nearby. By his clothes and hair, he recognized his childhood rival friend in him. Sasuke. Using all his limbs, Naruto began to crawl towards the lying body. It was scary. Naruto was afraid that he was dead, afraid to see his lifeless body. But even despite the fear, he crawled with all his strength, forgetting about the pain and bleeding. After all, he himself was also wounded, but he crawled. If you're not dead, then you're going to die from bleeding now, moron, a familiar voice was heard. Sasuke, you're alive. Uzumaki exclaimed joyfully. What are you talking about? Uchiha said sarcastically in an even voice. Naruto just smiled his signature and most sincere smile. Sasuke slowly started to get up. Unlike the blonde, he didn't have any serious wounds, so he stood up, albeit with great effort. The brunette wondered where he was. How did he even end up here? As he began to look around, Sasuke began to doubt that they were within the land of fire. Everything was foggy in his thoughts. His head was spinning, and from the unknown humming in Uchiha's ears, his head was cracking into pieces. As I understand it, we are in some alley among the trash, confessed the great Sasuke. These houses are so big. I've never seen such huge houses before, Datebi, exclaimed the recumbent Naruto. That doesn't matter now, idiot. The main thing is, where are we? I clearly remember that we were in the Valley of the End and throwing Rasengan and Chidori at each other. I don't really understand anything myself. Naruto was still lying on the cold asphalt. Frozen, bleeding, and smiling stupidly. Sasuke didn't waste time, he was just walking around. After some thought, the brunette stopped. He started looking at his palm. At first, thoughts like, oh, my hands are so beautiful. Here it is, the great and mighty power of the Uchiha. True beauty. Sasuke looked at his palm with such piercing intensity that his eyes ached and became rounded like 5 ruble coins. I don't feel chakra in my body. I can't activate the Sharingan either. The Rinnegan has disappeared somewhere. Sasuke slapped his soft cheeks. Oh, my god. What should I do? Once again convinced that Naruto's best friend was healthy and of sound mind, Uzumaki decided to take care of himself. Naruto pushed himself back and lay on his back. He threw his arms and legs in different directions. Lying in the star pose, Uzumaki began to shout. Kurama. Kuramushka. Come out and heal me with your super-duper chakra. Kurama. Of course, I understand that because of Sasuke's crazy prank, you spent a lot of chakra, but, you understand, if I die, then you too. Well, Kurama. Where are you? Show some humanity, Datebi. Sasuke just crossed his arms over his chest and rolled his eyes. This is how Naruto prayed to Kurama to heal him, for about 5 minutes. Until... Oops. Food. Sasuke and Naruto simultaneously turned their heads in the direction from which the voice came. There stood some guy unfamiliar to them, in strange clothes, closed shoes with laces, long dark blue pants and a black sweatshirt. Strange clothes for a shinobi, although he may not be a ninja, but still unnatural. Uchiha was very wary that this man called them food. Sasuke especially didn't like his crazy red eyes. A Sharingan? Right here and now, the revolutionary would like to hug him and kiss his beautiful eyes, but the morals that Itachi once read to little Sasuke said, "Never and under no circumstances, do you hear me, stupid brother, do not approach other people's uncles." The guy decided to follow his brother's instructions and did not go to hug him, remaining at a distance. Afterwards, a terrifying aura began to emanate from him. Sasuke felt uneasy. "Naruto, I don't know why, but I feel in my gut that we need to get out of here." There was no such answer, because Naruto had already lost consciousness or one has already died. The stranger reacted somewhat sadly, "I like it when the meat is fresh. I'll have to enjoy only one." The man shrugged his shoulders weakly and stared at Madara's descendant with a mad smile on his face. Sasuke wanted to hide now, to go as far away as possible. He would have gladly run away, but he simply could not leave Naruto. Yes, he wanted to kill him, take his place, steal his dream, but now they were alone, in the same situation, and leaving Uzumaki to die here was stupid. And unsafe for the brunette himself. "Hey, Naruto, get up. Get up and get out of here." There was still no answer. Sasuke clenched his fists tightly. "Where is your will of fire, way of the ninja, and all that other nonsense you like to spout on every corner? Naruto. Your friend is already dead. It's time for you to follow him too." He began to approach them with slow steps. His red eyes were sparkling, and the scara of his eyeball turned black. Some tentacles began to appear from behind his back. "You're not an Uchiha. Who are you? What are you?" Sasuke began to panic internally. No chakra, no Sharingan, almost nothing. The Uchiha took out a single kunai from the pouch attached to his right privet. He threw the kunai towards the boy, but the boy blocked the blow with one tentacle. This tentacle slightly resembled a muscle mass, and the ends were sharp, like kunai. Sasuke was at a loss. What was that from his back? Why did he have such strange eyes? He assumed that the tentacles were dense chakra, but it was almost impossible to form chakra into a separate mass. The guy came close to Sasuke and grabbed him by the throat, wounding him in the forearm. Sasuke could no longer resist. His strength was gone. The tentacles lifted the Uchiha's body and, literally, began to tear him apart. Suddenly the boy stopped. The crazy smile disappeared from his face. He fell to the ground, and Sasuke himself with him. Standing up with difficulty, Uchiha looked at the guy, or rather at his body. Sasuke was horrified. The body on the ground was dismembered. The torso and legs were lying separately. There was blood everywhere. Sasuke felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to vomit. A muffled laugh was heard from the shadows. Although the voice was soft, it was very creepy. Soon, it came out of the shadows. It seemed to Uchiha that it was a short girl with gray hair down to her shoulders. Her clothes were even stranger, a white button-down shirt, the top of which was unbuttoned, and the sleeves were rolled up to the elbows, an ill-fitting jacket also with rolled-up sleeves, trousers rolled up to the knees with suspenders, and instead of normal shoes, bright polka-dotted slippers. Her pupils were dilated, and there were stitches on her body, which gave her a slightly frightening appearance. "Juzo-san. Did you kill the ghoul?" Several more people ran up behind him. Two men, dressed in long gray cloaks. One of them approached Sasuke. "How are you?" "Don't worry, we'll call an ambulance now." "Did the ghoul do all this?" "How cruel," said another. "Ghoul?" Afterwards, Sasuke lost consciousness. "Adrenalina." The man shouted in a commanding tone. "A kidney transplant is needed. A blood transfusion. We don't have a donor." "Yes, we don't know his blood type yet, and we don't have permission for a transplant either." "Will you let him die?" There was a moment of silence in the operating room. Everyone looked depressed. The tension was growing and growing. Doctors really didn't know what to do. What could help this still child? Blood loss, torn skin and muscle tissue in the abdominal area, damaged kidney, and all this in one boy. Only a miracle could save him. Excuse me, but recently in Dr. Kano's personal refrigerator I saw donor blood and, it seems, some other organs. Someone's uncertain voice was heard. Bring it quickly. But if the organ or donor blood is not suitable, the boy will die. We have no other choice. His life is already hanging by a thread. Where am I? Are you finally awake? Summer is a wonderful time of the year. The time when the weather outside is warm and clear. The only downside of summer is too warm, or rather hot, weather and stuffiness. It was also stuffy in the Tokyo hospital. The air conditioners were running full blast there. The fair-haired young man lying in one of the hospital wards came to his senses. He opened his eyes slightly. He closed them, rubbed his eyes with his hands and quickly ran his gaze across the entire ward. The room was small and quite comfortable. There were soft beige walls and a thick white curtain that did not allow the sunbeams to penetrate here. It seemed that the ward was a single one, because there was only one bed here, on which the young man was lying. Where am I? At that moment the door opened and a young girl in a white robe, just above the knees, entered the room. Seeing the blinking guy, her dark brown eyes lit up. Have you finally woken up? She exclaimed joyfully. The girl ran up to him and began to feel his hand. The pulse is clear. She continued to feel the blonde for a long time and muttered something to herself. It looks like I'm in Konoha's hospital. How are you feeling? Good? It's just that after the operation, you didn't come to your senses for a week. We were worried. I'm fine. Wait, surgeries? Did I have surgery? The girl nodded. Now she looked focused. The nurse went to the nightstand next to Naruto's bed. There was a tray with various medications on it. She took a cotton swab and dripped some liquid solution. The smell of alcohol wafted through the tent. She placed a wet cotton ball on the blonde man's hand and took the 4-needle out of the guy's left hand. Yes, a week ago the investigators brought you in a terrible condition. You had severe bleeding and severe wounds in the abdominal area. Without surgery you would not have survived. The doctors gave you a blood transfusion and a kidney transplant. Thank God, the donor blood was a match for you, and the organ too. You were very lucky. I see. Ah. Sasuke. Where is Sasuke? Your friend is in the next room. He's fine now. Thank God. Naruto sighed with relief. He has a hot temperament. The girl smiled slightly. Sasuke and hot temperament are two completely incompatible words. Unlike you, he didn't have any serious injuries and he came to his senses right away, but then he started to rage. We gave him some sedative. He's fine now. Sister-san, can I call Kakashi-sensei? Yes, you can. Just right here. She took a pen and a torn piece of paper from her robe pocket, his phone number, and we will contact him. Uzumaki didn't understand what the girl was talking about at all. What number? What phone? Fine. Oh. The brown-eyed girl suddenly shuddered. You probably want to eat. I'll bring it now. She flew out of the room like a night fury and a second later ran in like an Olympic champion with a tray. She quickly set the table for him and, wishing him a pleasant appetite, went out shouting. He woke up. Naruto didn't notice her antics and simply began his long-awaited meal with a happy face. It's a pity they didn't bring me ramen. Oh well. They'll discharge me today or tomorrow, and I'll go to Ichiraku to stuff myself. Blue Eyes clapped his hands, grabbed the sticks and started stuffing his mouth. It was only later that he began to taste the food. The disgusting food. The boiled rice tasted like cast iron. The meat sauce tasted like ram's urine, and the meat was chewed like a sponge. Uzumaki quickly spat it out, picked up a glass of tea, and drank it. He regretted it when he felt the taste of soap in his mouth. What the hell? The young man felt uneasy. He got out of bed. His head was spinning. Naruto decided to open the window to get some fresh air, because it was stuffy. Uzumaki went to the window and opened the thick curtain. A bright light fell on the guy's face. The light hit his eyes and the guy screwed them up. Covering his face with his hand, blinking a little, Naruto was able to see normally. He saw huge glass houses, big advertising boards, hanging TVs. Naruto wasn't surprised, he was shocked. Deeply shocked. At that moment, the door swung open and Sasuke ran in. Naruto looked at him listlessly. "Naruto, we're in total trouble." Sasuke assured all the nurses that the blonde was his friend and that he wanted to support him after the recent events. The nurses, surprised by the noble act of the teenager, allowed them to chat in private. Naruto seemed depressed. His sky-blue eyes that always sparkled with joy were dull. "While you were unconscious, I managed to learn a lot about the world we found ourselves in." "I'm listening to you," Naruto's voice trembled. "Even when we got here, a ghoul attacked us. Ghouls are creatures that feed only on human flesh, and regular food is disgusting to them. They are very similar to humans in appearance. We are in the village, in the city of Tokyo, Japan. I have only one guess as to how we ended up here. Remember how that Byakugan bitch could use chakra to open vortices to other worlds? That's where my theory comes from. Perhaps, during the clash of techniques, a huge amount of chakra was released, a space-time vortex was formed, which threw us into a parallel world." Parallel world? Yes. And now the worst part. In this world there is no concept of shinobi, only legends about them, no chakra, dojutsu and ninjutsu. No Rasengan. Sexy jutsu. No Chidori and Sharingan. And Kurama? He's not there either? Yes, for the first time in his life Uzumaki felt sorry that he didn't have his warden Kurama, his friend, with him. In this world there are no animals that can talk, use chakra and bijou. By the way, Naruto, soon a ghoul investigator will come to you and start asking all sorts of questions. To all the questions you must answer, "I don't know. I don't remember." "How do you know so much, Sasuke?" "The nurse who looked after me told me everything. She asked who I was and where I was from. I told her that I didn't remember, so she told me everything." "Clear. Your name?" the man in the gray cloak asked in an even voice. "Uzumaki Naruto." "Where are you from?" "I don't remember." "Do you have any relatives?" "I don't know." "Do you remember anything?" "I only remember that my name is Uzumaki Naruto." "I see." The man stood up and headed towards the door. "Goodbye." "Bye," the blonde smiled. The investigator came out. He took his phone out of his pocket, dialed a number and put the phone to his ear. "Same as the first victim." "Yes, memory loss. They are still teenagers, no relatives found. Is it recommended to send them to the CCG school?" "Got it. And what about Rabbit?" "She has been leading an active lifestyle for the last 6 months." "Good. He was being watched over by one of these teenagers, namely Uchiha Sasuke." When he left, the brunette went towards Naruto's room. "Did you do everything I said?" "Yes. And the sucker fell for it." Uzumaki chuckled contentedly. Sasuke looked around his friend's room and noticed that he wasn't eating anything. The food was untouched. "Naruto, why aren't you eating?" "I don't really feel like it." "Eat more. We have to leave soon, don't you remember?" "I remember, of course." A dark-haired guy, dressed in a white hospital t-shirt and black pants, came out of his room. He walked quietly, on tiptoe. Unfortunately, now the young Uchiha cannot boast of his speed and silence, as in the shinobi world. Sasuke walked, turning back and forth, left and right every time. Fortunately for him, the nurses and the doctor on duty fell asleep and snored loudly, not noticing anything around them. And finally, Uchiha reached the place. He quietly lowered the door handle and silently entered the room. Seeing a picture that did not bode well, he almost went crazy. Naruto, who should have been ready, was sleeping. Sleeping, as if nothing had happened. The former Jinchuriki lay hugging a pillow. "Sakura-chan. I will save you." "Rasengan." "Sakura, kiss the savior," the blonde-haired man muttered. A pulsating vein appeared on Sasuke's smooth, wrinkle-free forehead. His left eye twitched. He snorted in displeasure and kicked his friend in the butt. "Wake up, idiot." It was chilly outside. Two guys in simple t-shirts were wandering the streets of Tokyo. One of them was walking silently, with his hands in his pants pockets, the other with stunned eyes and open mouth, admiring the beauty and brightness of the night city. "I can see from your eyes that you're looking for something," Naruto said, looking up from the large screens. "I'm looking for the place where they found us. Maybe there are some of our things left there, or maybe we'll be able to get back." "That's what you had in mind. Then you and I were in some alley, we were found there and sent to the hospital. The investigators had to send us to the nearest hospital, and that's why I'm sure that alley is somewhere in this area." "Maybe that one?" Naruto pointed to a dark alley. There were no people walking near it, only a few. "What makes you think that?" "I don't know. I think we need to go there." "There. The smell." Naruto really didn't know why he was so drawn there. When he took a deep breath, the smell of ramen wafted from the place. It was so inopportune. For some reason, Naruto had been disgusted with food lately and hadn't eaten anything for a week. And this smell was like a magnet. Giving in to temptation, Naruto rushed there. "Naruto, wait. Damn you." Sasuke ran after him. Naruto, surprisingly, ran very fast. Closing his eyes and feeling some pleasant aroma, he seemed to be getting drunk. Sasuke looked at him in confusion. He didn't stop Uzumaki, he just followed him. "That scent was already close, right in front of you." And finally Naruto opened his eyes. "Ah!" Naruto's knees trembled, he fell to the ground. "I had a picture before my eyes, a man eating another man. Maybe a girl or not, dressed in a maroon cloak, above the knee with a hood, a removed white mask in the form of a rabbit and pink hair on the sides." The rabbit turned to him. She stood up and walked towards Naruto. In her hand she held a piece of meat. The girl held out her hand with the meat. Naruto's mouth started to water. He himself did not understand why, he was drawn to her hand. He felt disgusted with himself, with his thoughts and desires. "Naruto." Sasuke appeared from behind. He looked worried, scared. The Uchiha didn't know what to do. A ghoul stood in front of him. He couldn't resist him yet. He was driven by fear. Fear for himself and Naruto. "A man?" said the rabbit. "I came because of the smell of a corpse. Why am I here? Is she a ghoul?" Naruto was already shaking all over. A girl with black scara and red eyes looked down at him. "Are you hungry?" Here, she threw a piece of meat right into his hands. Uzumaki shuddered. The aroma coming from the meat was so wonderful. He wanted to eat. 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 Meat. Meat. Naruto was so hungry. He had been barely holding himself back for the past few days, but now there was food right in front of him. Meat. Human meat. No. No. What's wrong with me? Naruto threw the meat away from himself somewhere. But it seemed that rabbit didn't like this prank. The girl looked at him with disdain. From behind, in the shoulder area, something similar to gas was released, pouring out different shades of colors. It looked like wings. From behind one wing, spikes covered in fire flew. They flew straight at Naruto. The blonde couldn't move. He was shocked. Shocked by the beauty of this ghoul's wings. The spikes were about to touch him, but Uzumaki was pulled back by his friend. "Why are you so slow? Let's get out of here, otherwise the ghoul will eat us." Sasuke pulled his arms, dragged him along, but Naruto stood his ground. The Uchiha took him by the shoulders and began to bring him to his senses until he looked into his eyes. "Naruto, what's wrong with your eye?" "Eh?" The rabbit started to walk away from the boys. She looked shocked. "You. One-eyed ghoul. You. One-eyed ghoul. Am I a ghoul?" "No. That's impossible, because I'm a human." "I'm a human." "No. I want to eat. I'm hungry. Meat." The smell of blood and meat still wafted through the air. It was driving Naruto crazy. With each passing second, the Uzumaki wanted to eat more and more. Next to him stood his best friend, Sasuke. Naruto felt the warm blood flowing through the veins of the brunette, the smell of fresh flesh. When a ghoul is hungry, he doesn't care who he eats. Be it a friend or a relative, the ghoul will still eat him. The main thing is to quench his thirst and hunger. There is nothing worse than hunger for a ghoul. What am I thinking? My desires are so vicious. Sasuke, please go away. I think I'm going to go crazy. Ghouls are predators. Monsters that eat people and their own kind. I'm not a monster. Naruto pushed his best friend with all his strength. Sasuke didn't expect a blow from him and therefore flew back. Having fallen, the dark-haired hit his head and passed out for a short time. Naruto himself was a little unsteady. He touched his face with his left hand, covering his left eye. Afterwards he stood confidently. He removed his hand, which hid the red eye with the black scara. He looked at Rabbit, a mad smile appeared on his face. Kill, eat. At the moment, Naruto was not being controlled by common sense. The girl jumped back. It wasn't that she was scared, she just didn't expect such behavior. At first glance, the fair-haired guy seemed stupid and timid to her. Uzumaki suddenly jumped into the air about 2 meters. He landed and found himself right in front of the pink-haired girl. Naruto tried to punch her, running in circles around the rabbit, trying to make a surprise blow. As a shinobi and Jiraiya student, Naruto was well versed in taijutsu, second only to Rock Lee and Hitaki Kakashi, but his maneuvers did not give any result. The girl reflected all the blows with her wings. It was a bit like Gaara's absolute defense with sand. Eventually she, Rabbit, got tired of the guy's attacks. Having waited for the right moment, she managed to put the young man on the ground with a deft sweep bang, but he immediately jumped up and began to attack. Naruto rushed towards the girl. When she froze for a second, he was able to grab her hand. He pulled Rabbit towards himself and kicked her in the stomach with all his might. TRST. The bone crunched. Blood came out of her mouth. Naruto, without wasting a second, punched her in the jaw thud, from which she flew to the left and hit her back against the wall of the house. Haha, the blonde chuckled dully. Oh, you. The girl said angrily, wiping the blood from her lips. A wing appeared from the back again. One waved it and fiery spikes flew at the boy. Tiaratada. The young man was able to dodge them, jumping back. Naruto looked at her insolently and grinned until he felt a sharp pain from his back and stomach. He grimaced from the pain. Lowering his head, the distraught Naruto saw a hand, someone's hand, piercing him through. The one who did it pulled his hand back out and headed towards the girl. Uzumaki was in a lot of pain, but he only angrily gritted his teeth, trying not to scream in pain. The one-eyed ghoul fell to his knees, covering his stomach with his hands, trying to somehow stop the bleeding. Tuka, are you okay? The man who stabbed Naruto asked in a calm tone. He was a tall man with silver hair and a heavy, stony gaze. I'm fine, she answered dryly. I thought you were full. Why did you go hunting? There are pigeons everywhere. The girl looked at him with displeasure and snorted. I don't care about pigeons. The main thing now is that guy. She pointed at the seated blonde guy. His left eye is a Kakugan, and his right is normal. Like Kaneki? Tuka visibly tensed up. Perhaps she remembered the time when she first met the snotty, one-eyed ghoul who worshipped books. She couldn't stand him, but over time she became attached to him. She wanted to see this guy every time, how he sometimes got embarrassed or read all sorts of morals, but she was still terribly irritated by how Kaneki zealously tried to protect everyone, even when you didn't ask. Help. Please, Naruto's voice was heard, I don't understand what's wrong with me. I. We will help you, the gray-haired man said quietly. Naruto raised his head, his eyes full of despair, but a half-smile appeared on his face. Thank you, the guy thanked him, coughing up blood. But Yomo-san. The girl cried, we don't know who he is. We can't trust him and… Tuka, we're from Antiku, remember? Antiku has been gone for a long time. He disappeared half a year ago. But we're still here. Tuka froze. She clenched her fist tightly and lowered her head. Fine. Wait. Sasuke's voice was heard from the corner. He was breathing heavily. Seeing Naruto wounded, he ran up to him. "Don't kill us." "We won't kill you," Yomo replied, "we'll help you." Any other person would not trust any person they met, but for some reason Sasuke believed this one. It seemed to him that he was telling the truth. His look, there was no lie in it. "Why should I trust you? You are ghouls." "We are ghouls, but we don't kill people." "Really?" Sasuke raised one eyebrow and looked at Tuka, and then at the body of some poor guy. "This is a misunderstanding. We eat the meat of dead people." "Then, I will believe you." Sasuke had no other choice anyway. "And they also called Naruto a one-eyed ghoul. We need to find out everything from them. If we are a club of saviors, then know that I am not going to drag the blonde around," the girl said rudely, putting on a mask in the form of a rabbit. "I understand. Just remove the corpse," the girl nodded positively. She approached the body, took it and flew away somewhere in an unknown direction. "Can you drag your friend yourself?" Sasuke nodded. He helped Naruto stand up. He had already lost consciousness. "Follow me." The Uchiha carried the unconscious one-eyed ghoul on his back and followed the man. Sasuke, following the strange man, thought about many things. Should they really be trusted? Why did they decide to help strangers? What happened to Naruto's eye? The guy carried his friend on his back. Damn, Naruto. The bastard is heavy. He was bleeding, and Sasuke himself was covered in Naruto's blood. "Hey, man. You cut Naruto through and through," Uchiha began roughly. "Maybe we should take him to the hospital first?" Yomo didn't even turn to face him. "Don't worry. His body is already half regenerated." "In terms of? Do you want to know?" "I'll tell you everything, but not now. I'll take you at your word." After some time they found themselves in the man's house. It was a very large apartment. There were several rooms, a kitchen and a huge hall. Yomo told the brunette to carry his friend to one of the rooms. Sasuke did as the man asked. "Are you tired?" Renji asked. He walked towards the kitchen, calling the guy to follow him. When they entered, there was a girl in the room. Very pretty, in a t-shirt and shorts. She was sitting with her feet up on the table and holding a cup of aromatic coffee in her hands. Coffee is a rather unpopular drink in the shinobi world because of its bitter taste. Sasuke himself didn't like it either, and he had never even tried it. Somehow he never had the chance, and there was no time for it. "Tuka, please move your legs," Yomo asked. Sorry, she removed her legs and sat down normally. "That ghoul girl? You can't tell by her. Should I make you some coffee?" The gray-haired man suggested. "I won't refuse." The young man was really interested in what the drink tasted like. The aroma was pleasant. "Tuka, please prepare." The girl looked at him with a look of "Why me? You make coffee well yourself." "And you taught me," but he didn't seem to care. He sat at the table, carefully examining Sasuke. Tuka stood up and started making coffee. "Maybe we should introduce ourselves first?" "My name is Yomo Renji, and her name is..." He turned his gaze to the girl, Tuka. "Well, if that's the case, then fine. My name is Uchiha Sasuke, and my comrade is Uzumaki Naruto." The guy's face was serious, as always. "Where are you from?" Sasuke chuckled. "I think I'll refrain from answering. If I tell you, you'll send me to a mental hospital. But if it's really important, then you can consider that we are from the same small village in Japan." "Fine." Tuka had just brewed the drink and handed the mug to the guy. Sasuke looked at the cup with interest. He brought the coffee under his nose, inhaling the wonderful aroma. After taking one sip, the brunette realized how wonderful its taste was. So pleasant. "Thank you, it's very tasty." For the first time in a long time, Sasuke thanked someone. Yomo waited a bit until the boy had fully enjoyed the coffee that Tuka had prepared. "I'll start with the fact that Naruto-kun. Ghoul." Upon hearing this, Sasuke took a big sip of the hot drink, burnt his tongue, and then choked on it. What? This can't be. It's quite possible. It's possible to make an artificial ghoul out of a human. Perhaps he was just another experiment. No, but, the guy was speechless. "What has been happening to you these last few days?" We ended up in Tokyo. We were attacked by a ghoul, but the investigator killed him and we were sent to the hospital. Naruto had blood loss and they gave him a transfusion. They transplanted kidneys, I think. Which hospital were you in? Naruma District City Hospital. The same hospital where Kaneki was. Kano shouldn't be there, he disappeared a long time ago, so it was a mistake? Naruto will have to eat human meat? Yes. Sasuke's face was tense. For some reason, he felt sorry for Naruto. Why him? He had already suffered enough since childhood. And how could a peace-loving blonde eat people? How did Naruto become a ghoul? Do you have any guesses? The Uchiha was reserved, but his curiosity was showing. I think after the operation, or rather, they transplanted a ghoul organ into him and the donor blood was apparently also ghoul, Yomo began. Is that possible? It was different with Kaneki. They transplanted his kakuho along with his kidney and that's why he became a ghoul. Do you think they transplanted a kakuho to the blonde? Tuka reasoned. Kakuho is made up of RC cells. Ghouls have more of these cells than humans do. They are found in both their blood and organs, so Naruto could easily become a ghoul. The nurse told me that Naruto was in serious condition. The operation was long and risky and something else. In short, 80% of the blood in Naruto's body is donor and one transplanted kidney. If all this belonged to a ghoul, then now it is clear why Naruto became this. But where did the hospital get ghoul organs from? This is the hospital where Kano worked. I think these are Rise's organs. Tuka tensed up at Yomo's mention of this name. Kano transplanted Rise's kakuho into Kaneki, but not into Naruto, I'm sure of it. It was probably just a mistake by the doctors, they didn't know what kind of blood and organ it was. Yomo, catching Tuka's glance, why Rise, continued, I think Kano was afraid that the first kakuho transplant operation would fail and prepared 2 sets just in case. But he was lucky. Kaneki not only survived, but became a ghoul. Kano knew that sooner or later the guy would notice that he was a ghoul and come to him, so he ran away. But it seems to me that Kano is not such a fool as to forget a spare set at the hospital. Or did he forget it on purpose? You're right, Tuka. Kano is cunning. He knew that one day, the public would find out that Kaneki Ken, a human, became a ghoul after the operation performed by Kano. In that case, the police and the CCG would be interested in him. He deliberately forgot the organs so that the doctors would perform the risky operation again when he was no longer there. If history repeats itself, he will be above suspicion. How clever. Wait. Sasuke spread his hands to somehow stop this discussion. You had a long and interesting story, but I understood almost nothing. First, who was Rise? Second, who was Kano? And third. Sasuke's questions were stopped by a sharp cry from the next room. Bo-o-o-el, Ditabeo. A few minutes earlier. Naruto woke up. Opening his eyes, he saw nothing. Everything was dark. He felt that he was lying on something soft. Soon, the guy shuddered, he remembered the recent events. All ablaze, the young man touched his stomach. Oddly enough, there was no hole. Naruto clearly remembered the hand that pierced his stomach through and through. Maybe I'm sleeping and this is all just my imagination, just a dream? Without thinking twice, Naruto pinched himself with his uncut nails. Bo-o-o-el, Ditabeo. A second later, light flooded the room. Naruto closed his eyes from the bright light. Why are you yelling like that? Naruto recognizes Sasuke's voice from millions of others. After blinking hard, he was finally able to see normally. Naruto looked at his friend. He was pointing something stupidly with his hands. He pointed at Sasuke, then at his stomach. Sasuke. This. There. In short. That. Stomach. Ah. Only then did Naruto notice the man standing opposite the Uchiha. Ah, he pointed his index finger at him. That's the guy who pierced me through and through. Damn it. Naruto, shut up already. Sasuke shouted, he helped us, and... I need to tell you something. 2 hours later. I see, the blonde whispered quietly and plopped down on the bed. There was silence in the apartment. Naruto looked at everyone. He looked at the girl. Your name is Tuka, right? Then he looked at the man, and yours is Renji? Both nodded. After another minute's pause, something dawned on Tuka. How did you recover so quickly? You were out of your mind with hunger on the street, and now you're fine. Everyone made a thoughtful face. You were, of course, already covered in blood, but the blood on your lips seems fresh, said Uchiha. Naruto tensed up hard. I didn't eat someone? Kirishima slapped her hand hard across her face, expressing helplessness and facepalm with her whole appearance. Hinami. It seemed like there was no one else in the apartment, but a few seconds later a girl of about 13 with short blonde hair and brown eyes entered the room. She was holding a pillow in her hands. Hinami, did you give Uzumaki meat? Yes, she said uncertainly. He was just wounded and muttered that he wanted to eat an eye. You're great, Hinami. The girl came up to her and kissed her temple. If it weren't for you, he would have gone crazy and wouldn't let me sleep in the middle of the night. Thank you, Hinami-chan. Naruto thanked the girl. Hinami smiled at him. The girl looked at the boy standing next to the blonde. A tall, dark-haired young man. Very handsome. She admired him for a long time until Tuka told her to go to bed. Yomo gave Naruto his old clothes to change into. The two boys obediently did everything they were told. They took a shower, changed their clothes and went to bed. The man asked them to stay and gave Sasuke another private room next to Naruto. It was already 4 o'clock in the morning outside, and candles were still burning in the apartment. Tuka went into the kitchen to clear away the dishes, but everything was cleared away by Yoma. You're probably tired, Tuka, go get some sleep, he smiled at her. Okay. Just shut her up, please, I can hear her screaming and it's driving me crazy. She probably got so excited when she heard her name. Go and rest, she won't bother you. The sun was shining brightly outside. The blue sky was cloudless, and on such a beautiful day, Naruto managed to wake up in a terrible mood. Well, no, he didn't wake up, because he hadn't been able to sleep a wink all night. Every time he closed his eyes, Naruto saw his friends, or rather their outlines. He didn't know if his friends were alive, if they were smiling, or if they had died long ago. Many had fallen under the Tsukuyomi net, which meant almost instant death. Remembering Shikamaru, who had barely survived, his heart began to beat faster. Naruto didn't know what was wrong with his friends. And it was so annoying. Everything inside him felt like it had shrunk into a small ball that could shatter into pieces at any moment. Naruto wanted to smash everything around him, scream, and let out all his pain and anxiety, but he couldn't. It turns out I've also become a ghoul. And who or what is a ghoul? A monster that everyone fears? Exactly, a monster. Then how is Naruto in this world different from Naruto of that world? Still the same monster. Will the guy have to experience the feeling of loneliness again, the suffering and despair? Will he have to go out of his way again to prove that he exists as a human being? It's not fair. Everything is so unfair. Yo, Naruto. The door to the room opened a little and someone's black head appeared. Are you awake? Sasuke? I'm just here. Yes, I woke up, the blonde-haired man muttered sluggishly, in a sleepy voice. Then I'll come in. The guy entered the room, closing the door. While you were dozing here, I talked to Yomo, Sasuke began. And? He kindly agreed not to eat me for breakfast, and also to help you in your new, so to speak, guise and give you a place to live. That is, he allowed us to live here until we find work and our own home. It's a bit suspicious. Listen, maybe they are ghoul maniacs who lured us into their lair by deception. Asked Uzumaki. If that were the case, they would have had plenty of time to kill us, dismember us, and throw us in the refrigerator. I don't think they're bad people, Sasuke spoke confidently, as if he'd known them for a long time. It was a little alarming. Are you so sure? Naruto asked again. This time the brunette looked at him. What's wrong with your eyes? They're red, like my Sharingans. Oh, that? Naruto looked away, scratching his cheek with his index finger, just couldn't sleep. I see, Sasuke also looked away. I couldn't sleep either. This whole story scares me, everything is so mysterious. This world is radically different from ours, but the language of these people, their appearance, their culture, everything is the same as ours. Uzumaki felt somehow offended. While he was suffering here, thinking about the state of his friends, this idiot was worrying about such nonsense, but Naruto didn't say anything, he just covered his face with his hands, mentally thinking what a heartless blockhead Sasuke was. Knock. Knock. There was a knock at the door. Come in, they said. The same girl who, out of the kindness of her heart and concern, fed Naruto, entered the room. Hinami-chan, it seems. The blonde thought. Yomo-san is calling you. Her voice was so quiet that it seemed like she was whispering, and her face was covered in a blush. Okay, Sasuke said without any emotion, get ready quickly, Naruto. A few minutes later. Tuka and I thought that you needed some clothes, Yomo began. My clothes would be too big for you, so you're going shopping today. Naruto's eyes widened, and Sasuke's expression was completely impassive, he thought that was how it should be. As I understand it, you don't know the city, so Tuka will go with you, the girl standing next to the gray-haired man nodded. Or maybe this? Naruto suddenly grabbed some yellow t-shirt and brought it right in front of the girl's nose. How did I ever agree to this? Tuka has been thinking for the second hour, watching the guys. They seemed strange to her, as if they were not from this world. At first, everything was more or less normal. They behaved adequately, but when they entered the subway, everything changed. It was as if Naruto had been replaced by a child. He was interested in everything, right down to how the subway worked. Okay, they were from the village, but even so, how could they know about mobile communications and a telephone? Tuka still remembers the frightened faces when Hanami called her. Uzumaki-san, this t-shirt is too bright. The guy with a sad face put the thing back. Tuka didn't care what they bought, but all the blonde guy chose were bright t-shirts and pants. But she liked Naruto's taste. He chose dark pants, jeans, and white shirts. Uchiha-san, can you pick out some normal clothes for him? I'll try. Sasuke turned his head a couple of times, but didn't find Naruto. Are you really lost? Damn it. Hey. I'm here. Tuka and Sasuke turned around following the voice. He was standing next to the mirror, it seemed Naruto was in the fitting room. The clothes he was wearing surprised not only Sasuke and Tuka, but also everyone present in the store. With a bright smile on his face, he was wearing a green, tight-fitting jumpsuit, also moving his hip back and forth. Hey, Sasuke, do I look like Gai-sensei and Lee? I'm going to gouge my eyes out, Sasuke said, covering his face with his hands and walking away from Naruto. And I'll go to a monastery, Tuka continued, pretending not to know this young man in green overalls. This is just the beginning. Ahahaha. Give me this one. The yellow one. Naruto looked at the mobile phone with brightly glowing eyes, which he really liked. And I choose this one, Sasuke pointed to the black box with the inscription iPhone 5S. Who would have thought that you were so pompous? Tuka chuckled. Why? The blonde asked. It's nothing, forget it, the girl waved her hand and went to the checkout. When the purchase of the phones was completed, the boys looked at them with surprised faces. Tuka, who understood phones, had to explain everything to them. Thank the girl's nerves, Sasuke understood everything quite quickly, but with Naruto it was more difficult. Of course, he liked his yellow phone, which reminded him of Kurama, but he still did not understand why he needed this phone. Look around, Naruto, the girl replied, Tokyo is a very big city and without a phone you'll simply be lost. Clear. Okay, let's go. Tuka gave the guys a bunch of bags and went ahead. Now where are we going? Asked Sasuke. We bought clothes and a phone, I think, for home, right? No. I told you Tokyo is a big city and you can't live here without documents. We need a passport, a certificate and all that crap for these too. I don't work for free, rabbit, came the hoarse voice of a man whose face was scarred, his teeth were yellow, and he looked creepy. Here, the girl took a black bag out of her backpack and threw it on the man's table. It's a pleasure doing business with you. So, he stood up and pointed to a door, please. We need to take some photos. They took the required format photographs for the documents. For about a couple of minutes the guys sat in front of the creepy guy and answered his questions. First name, last name and date of birth, that was enough, and he made up everything else. Come in 3 days, everything will be ready. When they left the man's office, Naruto and Sasuke and Tuka herself took a deep breath of almost fresh city air. Ugh. Listen, the air there is so heavy and smells of something nasty. But he makes good fake documents, the girl looked at Naruto, damn. Close your eyes. Huh? What? Why? The blonde didn't understand anything, he only saw the girl's hand covering one of his eyes. What's wrong, Tuka-chan? Sorry, your Kakugan has awakened. She sighed heavily, it's probably because of the smell of corpses. Sasuke looked at her in surprise and asked. Is he a ghoul? And she looked at him like he was an idiot. Well, of course. But only ghouls know that he's a ghoul. Tuka looked at Sasuke again as if he were an idiot, and also, when people come to him for fake documents, he eats them. What a terrible ghoul. Who cares about him? The girl with a thoughtful face began to beat around the bush. Damn, now I have to go to Yuta, but for now put this on. She took a blindfold out of her pocket and put it on Naruto. Heisei Art Mask Studio. Naruto saw the small sign. Heisei Art Mask Studio. I don't understand a damn thing, Uzumaki muttered to himself. They walked into the studio. It was quite bright inside. The floor resembled a chessboard and there were mannequins everywhere. Wearing masks. Scary masks. They were hung on the walls too. Naruto, clinging to the Uchiha, asked in a trembling voice. Damn, from one creepy place to another. What are we even doing here? Calm down, Naruto, Kirishima ordered. Yuta, where are you? Eh? A sleepy voice was heard somewhere in the studio. After passing a couple of mannequins, they saw a man in sunglasses lying on a sofa. Tuka? He stood up and started to pull himself up. You haven't come by for a long time. You brought someone. It was a tall man with an informal appearance. He was dressed in loose trousers and an open white t-shirt that revealed parts of his body. Everything was covered with tattoos, and his face and ears were pierced. On the left side of his head, the hair was shaved off, and on the right, his dark hair was long and tied into a ponytail. Naruto and Sasuke were certainly amazed by this guy, especially when Yuta took off his sunglasses. He looked at the boys with 2 burning scarlet eyes. Now you could see Yuta's face, and his face did not express any emotion. He came closer to Naruto and pinched his cheeks, and also began to stretch the skin and wipe it until Uzumaki removed his tattooed hand. Ow, that hurts. What are you doing? I was just wondering. Those stripes on your cheeks, aren't they painted on? Well yes, it's from birth. They look like a fox's whiskers. Then Yuta approached Sasuke's face and started sniffing him. Sasuke was uncomfortable with this, but he did nothing, he stood frozen in one place. The ghoul opened his eyes wide, which made Uchiha really scared. What a creepy guy. Compared to him, Orochimaru and Kisame are cute. Still looking at the guy, Yuta asked. Aren't you scared? No, Sasuke answered with some uncertainty in his tone. You have such a big nose, like a hawk's. He walked away from the guys and stood next to Tuka. What brought you to me? Make a mask for the blonde. And for the brunette too. A special one for ghouls. Fine. And again Naruto and Sasuke were sitting. Yuta was walking around them with a ruler in his hands and measuring the length of the nose and all the measurements he needed to make the mask. Are you the only one working here? Naruto asked. My workshop and my work. And I make all the masks myself. Do you have many visitors? Yes. Both people and ghouls come to me. Wow. When Yuta measured the length of Naruto's nose, he saw his tattoos on his wrist and fingers. You have cool tattoos, I want those too. Don't be stupid, Naruto. Sasuke intervened to bring his comrade to his senses. What a mommy, the blonde snorted discontentedly. An hour later. Okay then, Tuka clapped her hands, things are bought, phones are available, documents in 3 days, masks in a week. Home. 5 days have passed. In just a few days, Naruto and Sasuke began to communicate normally, like real friends. All past grievances were forgotten. And this seemed to be good, but still, everyone had their own thoughts in their heads. Naruto liked his new life. He also really liked the ghoul girl Tuka and little Hanami-chan. Although Tuka was sometimes rude and started hitting, but still, in his soul, the blonde was a masochist and he liked it. And Hanami-chan is very kind and always helps, explains if something is not clear. Yomo-san is silent, but also helps. He really liked this life, but there was one big but. Naruto is a ghoul and in order to live he has to eat human flesh. And Sasuke seemed to like his new life too. There was a roof over his head, there was food, there were friends, but this was a different world, a different reality. Sasuke was used to being a shinobi and the ordinary life of a human was unusual. He wanted so much to walk on water again, on trees, to release Katan and Chidori, and he really wanted to activate the Sharingan. And the brunette didn't even have time to properly use the Rinnegan. It was a shame. Sasuke, Yomo-san is calling you. Naruto burst into the guy's room. Yes, I'm coming, he said, closing the tabs. Wow. What is this? The blonde-haired man pointed his finger at the monitor. It's a computer. A thing that lets you use the internet. Hanami taught me. Internet? Tuka-chan said something about this internet, but I only understood that it helps find information. Why do you need it? You seem to like it here? Well, yes, Sasuke chuckled at his answer. You don't seem to care that we've ended up in another world and it's time for us to get the hell back home. I studied Japan using the internet. Sit down, I'll tell you something. Naruto obediently sat down next to him. The funnel sent us here. Everything is the same here as with us. Language, traditions, everything is the same. An amazing coincidence, right? And also, I learned that a long time ago an emperor ruled Japan. There were feudal lords, specialists in silent killing, shinobi and kunoichi, samurai, and chakra is just a person's spiritual energy. Listen, maybe. We just ended up in the distant future, where people were divided into other nationalities and forgot about chakra. There was a slight silence in the room. Even Naruto put on a serious look. Your theory may be right, but it's stupid. Sasuke laughed. Yes, he himself knew it was nonsense. Do you think we'll stay here forever? Don't know. The brunette stood up from his seat and walked towards the door, leaving Naruto with a worried look. Did you call me? Sasuke? Yomo turned around. Well, I called Naruto too. If you wanted to talk, then say so, I'll tell Naruto later. Okay, Renji had a cup of aromatic coffee in his hands. He took one small sip and put the cup on the table. Your documents were ready and, since you are minors, I took guardianship over you. The young man made a thoughtful face. Yes, he read somewhere that a person under 18 years of age cannot live without a parent or guardian. Thank you very much. Unexpectedly for Yomo, the guy bowed in gratitude. Even Sasuke himself was surprised by his actions. Many of the Uchiha clan were stubborn and proud turkeys, and the Sharingan user was no exception. Ho ho ho, but the man deserved a bow from the great Uchiha. He saved, helped, fed and gave him a roof. Heavy footsteps were heard from the hallway. Tuka entered the room, completely disheveled. Her face was angry and irritated, and there were large black circles under her eyes. Yomo-san, did you call? Tuka asked slowly, in a tired tone. Yes, the man took something out of his pants pocket and threw it right into the girl's hands. Keys? She didn't understand. What kind of keys? Don't you recognize the keys to your apartment? I think you can go back to your home now. Tuka's whole appearance beamed upon hearing this. Can I take Hanami with me too? Of course you can, she'll be much better off with you. The girl jumped with happiness. Renji smiled and Sasuke thought he was lucky to see him smiling. It seemed to him that he rarely rejoiced at anything. By the way, Tuka, why do you look so sad? School will start soon. So I'm getting ready, because this year I'll be applying, she answered sadly. At that moment, it was as if a light bulb went on above Yomo's head and he looked at Sasuke with an expression of, I've seen the light. Do you want to go to school with Naruto? How could you agree? We're already in deep shit, and now we're going to school? You're an idiot, Sasuke. The only moron is you, idiot. We don't know how long we'll be stuck here. And to live in this city, you need some kind of education, to find a job and earn money. And don't forget, we owe Yomo. What a pain in the ass, Naruto muttered discontentedly. Calm down, I asked for Tuka's textbooks. We already covered almost all the materials in the 4th grade when we studied at the Shinobi Academy. Naruto puffed out his cheeks and, looking sideways at Sasuke, said, I don't remember anything that we studied at the academy. Then you'll repeat it at school, Uchiha shrugged theatrically, gloating inside himself. What a piece of shit you are, Sasuke. Chapter 8. The one she promised to always protect. Tuka lay on her favorite couch. And it was her favorite because it was her couch. Soft and comfortable, in her own home. Everything here was hers. Just lying on this couch, Tuka felt some satisfaction and joy. Yes, and it was all because she was finally home. She still remembers how Yomo insisted that Tuka and Hanami move in with him a few months ago. At the time, the 20th ward was extremely dangerous for ghouls and it was not safe to live alone. But even Yomo's house was sometimes dangerous. Ghoul investigators came to their house, questioned them, and inspected the house. Hanami and Tuka pretended to be Rinji's nieces and ate burgers from Fat Girl in front of the investigators. It seemed that the pigeons believed that they were humans and, thank God, they did not find the body of a crazy woman. Crazy. It was because of her that Tuka couldn't live a normal life these past few months. Almost every night she cried or screamed with anger. Of course, she was hidden in a special room, but the ghoul's hearing was more perfect than that of humans and listening to her screams was unbearable. Kirishima hated her. Hated her more than anyone else. Hated her scent, which had soaked into the apartment. Hated her because it was all her fault. Because of her, it all started. Because of her momentary obsession with him. The thought of the crazy woman made her feel both irritated and disgusted at the same time. She wanted to forget these stupid thoughts, to distract herself. After all, the girl decided that this day would be pleasant for her and, to calm herself down, she took out her MP3 player and headphones. Often, to calm down, people listened to classical music, but the brunette preferred rock music. Exactly rock. It was for her. She had to like rock. Ayato, where have you been? This old man is already annoying me with questions about you. Calm down, Tuka. I came. Here, take a look at what I have. The guy took out something with wires from his pocket. What is this? An MP3 player and headphones. Humans are scum, of course, but they created a cool thing. Ayato took one earphone and put it on his ear, and gave the other to his sister. Listen, I'm sure you'll like it. Then, Ayato stole it from the man he killed. The girl was angry and scolded him for about 5 minutes, saying that it was wrong to kill left and right, and also to take their things, but he didn't care. But he won't need it anymore. He spoke with a carefree smile. Tuka didn't care about the dead man either, she was different then, but she was worried about Ayato. What if they tracked him down? What if they caught him? She promised to take care of her brother. But Ayato got tired of his sister's care and left, saying that she was useless. She was weak. He could manage without her. The girl snapped out of her memories. Someone was shaking her hand hard. It was Hanami. The girl's face was worried and her eyes were shining. What is it, Hanami-chan? The girl became worried. The girl didn't answer. Silently, she gave Tuka some kind of leaflet. This evening, in the center of Shibuya, there will be a mind-blowing laser show in honor of the end of the summer season. The brunette read out loud. Tuka looked at Hanami, her recently glowing eyes looking at her pleadingly. Do you want to go there? The girl quickly nodded several times in response. I've never been to a laser show. And it says there will be big fireworks at the end. Let's go, please. Tuka smiled. Hanami really wants to go there. And really, why not? It would be fun, and Tuka herself had never seen the show. Okay, let's go. Then, can we call Sasuke-kun and Naruto-kun? They're from the village and probably haven't seen the show either. Maybe. I'll call them now and ask. Hinami jumped with happiness and ran away. Is this show of yours starting soon? Sasuke asked. Tuka looked at the watch on her hand. The show starts at 7 p.m., so there are 20 minutes left. Cool. The sun had almost set, so the sky was scarlet orange. The night lights of Shibuya were on, giving the city an unusual beauty. And they walked through it. There were a lot of people in the center. A big stage had been erected there and some famous band was performing on it. The crowd of people near the stage screamed so loudly that it could be heard all over Japan. Everyone was happy. Smiles seemed to be stuck to their faces. Even Uchiha Sasuke's serious face was illuminated by a half-smile. There was just one but. Naruto was gloomy. His left eye was covered with an eye patch. He looked back and forth with his right eye. There was no smile on his face. How did Kakashi-sensei even walk around with an eye patch? It's incredibly difficult with one eye. Naruto lied. He lied quite convincingly. He had no problem with the bandage. He wanted to hide himself with this lie. Himself, whom he considered a monster. Looking around at the people, terrible thoughts crept into his head. No way. No way. Naruto, damn it, pull yourself together, calm down. There were so many of these people. It was warm outside and so almost everyone was wearing t-shirts and shorts. Naruto's human body parts were like sausages to his, slightly perverted, imagination. Naruto, suppress these feelings, control yourself, think about something good. Tuka was next to him, she took his hand and squeezed it so tightly that Uzumaki blushed. If you lose control and give us all away, I will kill you before the pigeons, understand? Naruto swallowed nervously and nodded. Tuka's threat made him feel somehow afraid for her, Sasuke and Hinami. He really needed to control himself. Tuka calmed him down with a threat. And he finally smiled. A few minutes later, the floodlights that hung all over the area started to turn on. People screamed with joy. The show was about to begin. Hinami looked at the sky in anticipation of something beautiful and unusual. Some black spots flashed before her eyes. Balloons, probably, she thought. The spots that were supposed to disappear from sight were getting closer and closer and were flying straight at them. One of them landed in the center of the crowd. People started screaming. Tuka realized that this was a ghoul attack and most likely an attack by Aogiri. With each passing second, there were more screams and people standing behind everyone, which was alarming. People panicked and tried to leave quickly, but the passage was difficult. Hinami, who was small and thin, was pushed back and forth and almost crushed, but the girl held on bravely. She didn't even notice how a man in a cloak and mask appeared right in front of her. He tried to grab her, but Sasuke was faster. The Uchiha took the girl's hand and pulled her to himself. Out of fear, Hinami pressed her whole body against him. Sasuke looked menacingly at the man in the cloak, but he didn't lose his head, grabbed someone else, something incomprehensible grew on his back and the ghoul flew away. We need to leave now. Tuka shouted, looking at the scene where a man in a suit came out and announced that everyone should calm down. People with quinquas started coming out of various benches and from the crowd into the center. They were CCG investigators. Tuka was about to run away with the crowd until she saw someone she knew. A ghoul without a cloak, which meant he was one of the leaders of Aogiri. He was wearing the same black jacket and black mask with rabbit ears that he had used to ruin her name. It was the Black Rabbit. It seemed he had decided to join the other ghouls and had dragged someone away as well. A girl with short, bright brown hair. She looked somewhat like Hinami, but Tuka was relieved to see the girl next to Sasuke. She turned back to Black Rabbit and looked closely at the girl. No. It can't be. The brunette shook her head and looked at him again with disappointment. Yuriko. Let's go, Tuka-chan. Why are you slowing down? Naruto pulled her hand. Take Hinami and go. Tuka suddenly pulled her hand back and took out her mask, putting it on. She ran away and disappeared among the people. What the hell? Uzumaki shouted discontentedly. Naruto, where is Tuka? The Uchiha shouted angrily. So, Sasuke, you take little Hinami and leave, and I'll go after Tuka, and Naruto also disappeared into the crowd. What? You can't fucking control yourself, you moron. Sasuke clenched his fist tightly. No, this idiot can't be left alone, Hanami. He let go of the girl's hand and sat down in front of her with his back to her. Just hold on tight, okay? Fine. Naruto ran very fast and therefore found Tuka quickly, but he could not catch up with her. He did not understand why he ran after her. Maybe he wanted to get away from the smell of blood? There were many wounded corpses and Naruto knew it. He knew because he smelled it. What an incredible organism ghouls have. Uzumaki was torn from his thoughts. The girl turned left and ran. Along the wall? Yes. A Kagun appeared on the girl's back, resembling wings. And how am I going to get there? Tuki was no longer visible. She was probably on the roof of a 9-story building. Well, let's try this. He walked 3 meters away from the house and ran at full speed towards the wall, but then fell unsuccessfully, hitting his head. Got it. It didn't work. Well then, Naruto went to look for the entrance to the house. While Naruto was running up the stairs, he almost fell 3 times and once tripped himself with his own foot and fell. But he didn't reach the roof, the iron door that led to it was closed. Why the hell did they close it? The blonde tried everything to try to open the door. He kicked, pushed, kicked again, but nothing worked. Kicking the door with all his might, he finally managed to open it, or rather kicked it out. Tuka-chan. Naruto looked at the entire roof. She, Tuka, was lying not far from him. He approached her and tried to lift her. The girl's entire body was injured. She could barely stand on her feet and was looking somewhere straight ahead. Uzumaki's face turned red with anger. He cast an angry glance at the man who stood in front of him. It was dark there, but his black figure was clearly visible. You asshole. How dare you? Please don't, Naruto. There's a girl over there, save her. Oh. Savior? Came from the darkness. Tell me, Tuka, how many human friends do you have, huh? 1, 2, 3, or 10? How low have you fallen, Tuka? Shut up, you bastard. Naruto, there's a girl there. She needs to. No way. First I'll kill this idiot and... No. Save her. Let it lie for now, and I'll handle it. The black rabbit laughed. Since Tuka couldn't handle it, do you think you can beat me? Idiot. I'll kill you. No. You can't. Tuka shouted. What? Why not? Because he is my little brother, Naruto. Commentary on Chapter 8. The one she promised to always protect. Sorry for the delay. Chapter 9. The second self Naruto barely opened his eyes. He squeezed them shut. His whole body ached. And it looked like his jaw was dislocated. He somehow adjusted it with his hands, and the crunch of bones was heard. He tried to open and close his mouth, and it seemed to work, but it was a little painful. Crap. The blonde began to examine the room he was in. It was a small, cozy room. Naruto himself was lying on a small purple sofa. Opposite the sofa was a table with toy rabbits lying on it. How cute. This is clearly not Yomo-san's house. The guy doesn't know where he is. Judging by the interior of the house, one can assume that a girl or a little girl lives here. Sasuke's black head suddenly popped out of the door. Finally woke up. Where are we? We're at Tuka's house. It's cozy, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I just don't remember how I ended up here. You're something else. You just took it and forgot everything. Well then tell me. Uzumaki was indignant. How would I know? You ran off somewhere yesterday and Hanami and I ran after you, but we lost you. We were running back and forth until Hanami smelled Tuka's blood, then we ended up on the roof. And there you and Tuka were already half dead. And then Naruto remembered. That guy was Tuka-chan's brother. But for some reason, he didn't remember his subsequent actions. A girl. There was a girl there, the blonde remembered. She's in Hanami's room. I think she's Tuka's friend. She ran after her, right? It seems. Listen, Sasuke, where is Tuka-chan? In the kitchen. I see. Naruto abruptly stood up from the sofa and left the room. Tuka's apartment, unlike Yoma's, was smaller and finding the kitchen was no problem. The girl sat quietly at the table, drinking hot coffee. There were scratches on her face and her hands were bandaged. Naruto frowned. Was she fighting with her own brother? And he did this to her? Tuka-chan, Uzumaki began, how are you feeling? The girl looked at him and smiled. I should be asking that. You got into trouble yesterday, Uzumaki. The guy shook his head. Naruto, the guy said his name, call me by my first name, not my last name. That's kind of weird. Okay, Naruto, she smiled again. Tuka stood up from her chair. She took one small cup and poured coffee into it. Here, she handed the cup to Naruto. Thank you. The blonde sat down at the table and began to look straight into the girl's eyes. I don't remember anything, well, almost. It seems I beat up your brother, right? He'll get you sooner. Huh? Is that true? Naruto scratched the back of his head, ooh. I think I'm losing my shape. Wait, and Sasuke's black head appeared again, I want to listen too. Sit down, I haven't even started the story. Sasuke and Naruto looked at each other. Today Tuka was a little different, not like always. She was polite and always smiling. This made the guys wary. I'll tell you everything briefly, okay? The guys nodded. When we were trying to escape, I saw that one ghoul was carrying my friend. I couldn't leave her, so I ran after her to save her. And in the end, I ended up on the roof of that house. Ayato and I fought a little, I lost, Naruto came and the fight started, Ayato won and flew away, then Sasuke and Hanami came. They dragged you to my house. That's all. You described everything too briefly. Sasuke looked askance at the girl, and she just shrugged her shoulders. He's your brother. So why did you start fighting? Why did he do this to you? Naruto asked frankly. The girl was noticeably upset. She smiled weakly and replied. My brother has always been distinguished by his lack of good manners and rude personality. It was still cruel. Naruto got angry, his face turning red. By the way, Naruto, you have a very unusual Kagun. A Bikaku that can split into 4 tails is rare. Bika. What? What is this? Damn it, Naruto, I told you about the capabilities of ghouls. Uchiha was indignant. Well, I don't remember, what can you do? Naruto, the girl intervened to explain to the blonde, ghouls have special organs, Kagun, that an ordinary person does not have. They appear at the ghoul's own will or when he is in a state in which he cannot control himself. It seems that you appeared in the second case. Well, that is not important for now. Kagun is formed where Kakuhu or simply RC cells are formed. They can be located here, Tuka pointed to her shoulders, in this area of a Kaku. In this part, Tuka pointed under her shoulder blade, the Kagun of Kukaku. Here, then she pointed to the lumbar region, is the Kakuhu type of Rinkaku. And in the tailbone area, like yours, is Bikaku. Tuka spoke calmly and clearly, so Naruto understood everything. You really have an amazing Kagun. Split into 4? I thought that only Rinkaku owners could do that, the girl said again with admiration, it's just that you need to work on self-control and managing the Kagun. What do you think? In terms of? You need self-control. And soon we'll go to school, you'll have to learn to eat human food. So you're saying I should learn to be an undercover ghoul? Yes. Good idea, Sasuke said. I agree. Commentary on Chapter 9. The Second Self. Forgive me. Forgive my sinful soul. It was just August 1st and I decided to have fun, so that later, in September, I wouldn't whine that I screwed up the summer. I hope you spent the summer as well as I did. I didn't write in September, because September is September and teachers are teachers. Well, you know. Finally, I decided to post the chapter. I wanted to make a different chapter, but then I got carried away somewhere far away. It happens. After reading the chapter, you probably expected a more detailed story from Tuka. But there was none. Don't worry. You will learn the story of that evening, but not from Tuka, but from someone else. Chapter 10. Memories. Inhale. Darkness. Exhale. Hatred. Inhale. Frantic heartbeat. Exhale. Powerlessness. This night was completely devastating. Walking through the dark corridors, Ayato, with a gloomy, beaten face, looked for his room and was furious that Aogiri's hideout was completely without light, and it was difficult to find the right room. Found it, he barely managed to say. But finding your room is quite difficult. Everything in the shelter is the same, and it resembles a labyrinth, big and smelly, but no one cared. Aogiri was a strong organization, but it did not care about its subordinates, and it did not care where the ghoul would live, what he would eat. It only had days when ghouls were allowed to hunt people, but Ayato was lucky. He was one of the leaders of Aogiri, he had more rights and opportunities. He chose his own room and did not allow anyone to enter it. Entering his little refuge from the world, he fell face down on some semblance of a bed. How tired he was. How many RC cells he had lost today. And how long it would take to restore them. Your mother. Ayato snorted, unable to move. Silence. It was so calming. Especially now, after all this had happened. Ayato was angry at Naruto, angry at Tuka, angry at himself, but some part of him was happy. A half-smile froze on the boy's lips. Where have you been for so long? A voice was heard from somewhere in the corner. There was no trace of the previous smile. Ayato couldn't raise his head, but he looked for the owner of the familiar voice with his eyes. I don't like it when you come into my room. It was necessary. And yet, where were you? And what happened to you? Ayato was silent for a few seconds, like a schoolboy whose chemistry teacher asked him what salt hydrolysis meant. For some reason, he became agitated. His heart was beating non-stop. His body was shaking. He knew this ghoul. He was too smart. He knew whether a person was lying or not. He became scared. No, he was not afraid of him at all, not afraid for himself, even if they found out his goals. He was afraid for others. Ayato tried to look unperturbed, but he was doing a poor job. Doves. Ayato tried to say the word as naturally as possible, he even said it with a hint of contempt, bastards. They were chasing me, I had to fight. There was no answer. There was silence, but soon his steps were heard. Slowly but surely, he was approaching Ayato. It was a little scary. The ghoul had almost completely approached the boy's bed and Ayato saw him. A tall, fair-haired ghoul with red, cold eyes. He hid his face with a mask that resembled a respirator. He was dressed in a long white cloak. He looked stern, which made Ayato's expression darken. Do you think I'm Yo? The ghoul didn't finish because of a push from behind. He stood like a pillar, as if he was stunned. Someone's laughter echoed through the room. Behind the ghoul, someone wrapped their small arms around his shoulders and jumped on his back. Laughter was heard again. Well, Tatara. Aren't you scared at all? Too bad. Hee hee. She lowered her small arms and climbed off him. She was very small and resembled a girl. The girl looked very extravagant. Her whole body was bandaged, even her face was hidden under them. Her fragile body was hidden under a long purple cloak with torn ends and a hood, hiding her greenish curly hair. This? The girl jumped up to the lying guy, not paying any attention to Tatara. She gently stroked Ayato's head, hugging him from time to time. My dear Ayato, poor thing, the stupid pigeons have completely tormented you. She approached him and licked his cheek, on which the blood had dried. Tatara, who was still in the room, watched this scene. It was hard to tell from his face what he was thinking, but it was clear that he was very angry about something. For example, the fact that the girl had brazenly knocked him down and didn't let him finish. Come on, Tatara, can't you see how bad Ayato-kun is? Unfortunately. His type of Okaku quickly loses its cells and takes a long time to recover, but Ito pressed herself completely against Kurashima, making it harder for him to breathe. If I give you meat, you'll recover quickly, right, Ayato-kun? Hee. Ito's statement made Totara seem furious and, not wanting to argue with the girl, he turned around and went home. When Totara completely disappeared from sight, Ito laughed hysterically. You'll owe me, Ayato-kun, the girl whispered in the boy's ears, and twice. The green-haired ghoul brought her hand to the boy's mouth. Ayato froze in shock at first, but he didn't think twice and bit off the flesh. Clever girl, Ito said, stroking the boy's head. It was as if Ayato was born again. The flesh was very tasty, more delicious than any meat the ghoul had ever eaten in his entire life. Its taste was unusual, and with each piece he wanted more and more. And Ayato's body was filled with RC cells, and it seemed to him that he had become stronger than he was before. This feeling. Like I can do anything. This feeling was familiar to him. Half a year ago, he first felt such power when he roughly bit off his sister's kagun. But her flesh was different from Ito's. It tasted disgusting, like human food. Almost recovered, Kirishima finally got out of bed. His eyes ran around the room, looking for something or someone. Ayato simply couldn't stand it when someone crossed the line between the hallway and the room without permission. Everything here was his personal property. Ayato began to feel better. The wounds and scratches healed. That guy was strong, Ayato suddenly said out loud. I wonder why he was with Tuka. Maybe he's her boyfriend? No, Tuka isn't stupid enough to date such an idiot, he said, touching his shoulder, where there had recently been a terrible wound received from the blonde's kagun. Ayato smiled to himself again. Today was truly an interesting day. And a little happy. He put his hand in his pocket and pulled out a small toy. Opening his palm to reveal a small rabbit toy, Kirishima smiled sadly. I'm sorry. Ayato, holding some random girl in his arms, was standing on the roof of a building. He was given the task of simply taking a few ghouls and attacking people during a laser show, taking a couple for backup in Aojirai. At first, everything seemed to be going well. The show, the unexpected appearance from the sky, the screams of people, he took one and that was it, but then someone started chasing him. And now, being on the roof waiting for the pursuer, Ayato abandoned the girl. She was heavy. Ayato thought that an investigator was following him after all and, just in case, he put on a black mask in the form of a rabbit's face. And what a surprise it was when, instead of a pursuer from the CCG, it turned out to be his older sister Tuka. Ayato. The girl was breathing heavily, probably tired. Tuka? What are you doing here? She didn't answer. Tuka didn't pay much attention to her brother at all, she was looking for someone's body and found it. Yuriko. Why did you take her? What? Ayato looked thoughtful. Why is Tuka so angry? He started digging around in his memory. And he remembered. 3 years ago, when his sister went to school, she was constantly talking about some friend of hers. And it seemed her name was Yuriko. Oh, yeah. Sorry, the guy chuckled, honestly, I didn't know. You wanted to take her to Aojirai, right? Maybe you could give her to me? Ayato, please. Here Ayato thought. Maybe he should give this girl away? Aojirai took enough food anyway. Give it or not? Let me think about it a little, okay, sister? Think about it? Just give her to me. She demanded. If you think about it, everything in Ayato's life started to fall apart because of her. Because of her, Tuka became attached to people, loved them. Because of this girl, they stopped understanding each other. She is to blame for everything, so why not kill her? You're so rude, Tuka. And I decided that I wouldn't kill her. He saw hope in his sister's eyes and grinned, but would just take her to Aojirai headquarters. No. Tuka was already running towards her friend, hoping to grab her and run away. She almost got there, but then her brother appeared in front of her and kicked Tuka so hard that she flew back and hit the wall. It hurt, but Tuka didn't wait and launched a swift attack. She knew Ayato was strong. Either she would defeat him, or he would defeat her and take the completely innocent Yuriko. Ayato himself did not move, standing next to the girl's body, activating the Kakugan and releasing the Kagun. The girl in turn released the Kagun, which made her movements faster. Clenching her fist, she was going to hit her brother, but in general, she just wanted to knock him out. Unfortunately, all the ghoul's attacks were in vain. Ayato dodged everyone, and even smiled impudently. His reactions were impeccable. Smiling, he did not show his intentions, thereby confusing Tuka. And so, when the girl missed again, the younger Kurashima missed her chance and hit his sister in the stomach, in the solar plexus. The brunette fell to her knees. Holding her stomach, she coughed and choked. Her brother sat down next to her and took hold of her chin. "You are as weak as our father was. You fight, you suffer because of some person. How annoying you are." Tuka felt better, she stopped choking, but it still hurt. Damn Ayato. How he made her angry. Full of anger, she looked at her brother. "She's not just a person, she's my friend." The girl tried to kick him, but he managed to do a backflip in time and avoid the blow. Tuka didn't stop there, using her Kagun at full power, she still reached Ayato. He grabbed her bloody left hand and hissed angrily. It seemed she broke his hand. This didn't calm Kurashima down. Pretending not to notice anything, he rushed towards Tuka with incredible speed. She was a little scared. She still remembers how a year ago, Ayato almost killed her. Tuka quickly jumped up from her seat and also rushed towards her brother. In order to protect herself, she attacked Ayato as best she could, but thanks to his agility and the combination attack with his Kagun, he dodged and grabbed Tuka's arm. Pulling her towards him, he grabbed her by the throat and threw her to the floor with all his strength. "Tell me, why don't you use your Kagun at all?" Kurashima asked with a sly smile. "You know it yourself." Tuka lost all her strength and therefore spoke very quietly. "Oh yeah. I ate your Kagun, but it should have recovered, shouldn't it?" The girl didn't answer, but she looked very sad, although, why am I asking? Weaklings are weaklings. I was probably really rude to her, but I did leave that girl behind. Ayato thought out loud, Tuka is too weak, how can she even hunt? If she meets someone from Aojirai, she'll go straight to the grave. Damn it. I shouldn't have torn off her Kagun back then. Ayato began to feel unwell. Something inside was tormenting him. Maybe his conscience? Commentary on Chapter 10. Memories. Sorry for the delay. I won't do it again unless, of course, I'm sitting at the table, suffering from a mountain of homework. P.S. I'm just awesome at describing fights, aren't I? Sorry, action lovers. P.S. Bets, you can forgive me and kick me too, I don't bet on anything. 3. Chapter 11. Yuriko's reaction to the ghoul world Tuka stood silently in the middle of the hallway. She didn't dare enter the room. Her heart was pounding. Goosebumps ran down her spine. What's wrong, Tuka? Hinami suddenly appeared. You're scared, huh? The girl's face darkened a little and she nodded. She was really afraid. Yuriko didn't want to lie, and she was unlikely to believe her. Yesterday she was conscious, pretending, like Hyde once did, she heard everything, saw everything. What if she was afraid of Tuka? After all, she was a ghoul. Hinami smiled softly. It was understandable. The girl came up to her and took her hands. Don't be afraid, Yuriko-san is your friend, I think she won't be scared if you're honest with her. Maybe you're right. So Tuka gathered her courage. A bright spark of hope appeared in her dark eyes. Taking a final breath, she took hold of the door handle. The girl entered the room with her back straight and proud. Why? Yuri. Tuka unexpectedly began to stutter, seeing her friend sitting peacefully on the bed. Yuriko responded. She looked towards Tuka. Just looked. She wasn't scared, she didn't scream as Kurashima expected. And this, at least a little, calmed her down, and she said the name again, this time in a more confident tone. Yuriko. Tuka. The blonde suddenly jumped up from her seat and hugged her friend. Kurashima didn't expect this at all, but she was very happy and also hugged Yuriko. Are you feeling okay? Tuka asked, sitting the blonde down on a chair. Yes. You know, Yuriko, I need to explain everything to you. Tell you about what happened yesterday, she said this with her head down. She didn't want to look her former classmate in the eyes, and Yuriko herself looked upset now. And so Tuka began her story. She didn't speak briefly, no, she began to speak from the very beginning. From her birth until yesterday. Now you know everything. And I left my previous school because the news said that all the people working there were not people at all, but ghouls. Back then, many knew that I worked part-time at Antica. I didn't answer your calls because I was afraid. Yuriko was silent. Her eyes were open, but she barely blinked. Her fists were clenched tightly. She was in shock. She didn't know it, but somewhere deep inside, Yuriko suspected something like that, but not seriously. Tears began to well up in Yuriko's eyes. It was so hard for you in this world, Tuka-chan. Now the redhead hugged Kurashima. How did you survive everything? I probably wouldn't have been able to live like that. Wiping away her tears, she looked at Tuka, who also had tears welling up in her eyes. Forgive me, Yuriko, for not telling you anything. Tuka was crying, Yuriko was crying, and Hanami was crying too, because she was quietly and unnoticeably peeping at them, and Naruto and Sasuke were peeping along with her, so Naruto was crying too, only Sasuke wasn't crying, because inside he kept saying, "Don't you dare cry, you're an Uchiha. You've already cried enough for 17 years of life." And finally, everyone stopped crying. Tuka and Yuriko wiped away their tears, looked at each other and laughed. Ahaha. Tuka, you forgive me too. I always judged you because you ate little. And I cooked and brought you a pot of food. At school, I made you eat onigiri. I'm sorry. You must have felt really bad after that food. It's okay, Yuriko. You know, I really enjoyed it when you made me eat, even though the food was just disgusting, but you took care of me. Thank you. Commentary on Chapter 11, Yuriko's reaction to the ghoul world. A small chapter dedicated to the cute Yuriko-san. Chapter 12. Training. Part 1 Naruto, Sasuke, and Tuka were moving through the dark corridors, where the foul smell of human waste was present and rusty pipes were scattered everywhere. Behind them, holding hands tightly, were Yuriko and Hanami. Over the past couple of days, the girls had gotten along well with each other. Yuriko was not afraid of Tuka, Hanami, or Naruto at all. On the contrary, she was very interested in them. That was why she had asked to go with the ghouls. How much longer do we have to go? There's just a little bit left, wait. Oh, it was in vain that I tried to persuade you to take me with you. Now I regret something. Too late. Tuka remarked, and Yuriko quietly laughed, whispering, sorry. The guys walked a little further and in a couple of minutes they found themselves in some room. A creepy and smelly room. In fact, they were all in the basements of a long-defunct factory. According to Yomo, who sent them here, this was a great place for Naruto's training. And it was great because there were no unexpected guests like the CCG here. Investigators checked this factory only once a year, which makes the local ghouls very happy. For example, there is a place to hide human remains. It's nice here, Sasuke noted. I feel like I'm having déjà vu. These dark corridors and creepy rooms with all sorts of bodies reminded Uchiha of his 3 years of living side by side with Orochimaru and Kabuto. We've arrived. Well, shall we begin? Tuka took off her jacket and asked Hanami to hold it. Then the girl stretched her arms a little, and then activated the Kakugan, releasing the Kagun. Wow! Yuriko and Uzumaki exclaimed in unison. And it was truly amazing and beautiful. Tuka's Kagun sparkled with bright scarlet colors and resembled wings. She is divine. Uzumaki said quietly, but Tuka overheard his words. Thank you, of course, for the compliment, but that's not why we came here. The girl launched a swift attack, was fast and precise in her blows. The girl decided that if she beat him up well, then maybe, in a fit of anger, he would be able to activate the Kagun. At first, everything seemed to be going well. The brunette attacked the guy with all her might. Naruto did not even resist, he managed to dodge in an amazing way. How does he manage to dodge so quickly, the girl thought, while Sasuke's hands were itching and his teeth were shaking from the ghouls' fights. He hadn't fought anyone for a long time, and the Uchiha's perfectly trained body was thirsty for at least a little movement. And Yuriko was scared. A little. But she was still scared. How strong are ghouls? And do they kill people with the same power? Do they use their superiority over ordinary people? You're amazing, Naruto. Tuka said in admiration as they stopped. You're very good at defending yourself. It's all thanks to the perverted hermit. He taught me everything, and also Kakashi-sensei, and I learned a couple of taijutsu techniques from the thick-browed sensei. And they are the strongest shinobi in our village, Uzumaki bragged to her. Tuka and the two girls imagined how somewhere in a remote village in Japan, three bald, old, mustachioed uncles, one of whom had thick eyebrows, in black robes, showed a young Padawan, a student, films with Jackie Chan, and with a proud look, said, "Watch and learn, our young student, and become as cool as Jackie Chan." That's all they could imagine in their heads. For them, the word shinobi is only used in movies and manga. And this way, it was much easier and clearer to introduce sensei to young girls. This doesn't help activate the Kugun at all. Maybe you, Naruto-kun, should get angry? More angry, Hanami suggested, and Kurashima agreed, not knowing what to do herself. Okay, let's try. Sasuke. Let's finish what we started. Finally. Uchiha smiled like a maniac and ran to the center, where two ghouls were standing. Tuka, I ask you to stand further away, because it will be dangerous here now. What? Tuka-chan, don't argue, he's really telling the truth, Naruto winked at her. Rolling her eyes, the girl walked towards Yuriko and Hanami. The fight between Sasuke and Naruto, which started in the Hidden Leaf, will end in Tokyo. Commentary on Chapter 12. Training. Part 1. This is, of course, my nonsense. Chapter 13. Training. Part 2 You're going to get it now, Naruto said quickly and almost indistinctly, looking at Sasuke. His blue eyes seemed to sparkle, for wanting to kill me. Your Naruto-parapia works well on renegades like Nagato or Obito, but it really pissed me off, to be honest, and getting rid of you meant becoming Hokage. Sasuke was also smiling, a little strangely, somehow unnaturally, but it was clear that he was simply happy. Okay, in short, let's do it this way, we'll finish the fight and be friends again. We have to survive together, if you haven't forgotten, Sasuke. Idiot, I told you these words myself from the very beginning. While the boys were walking around in circles discussing something in passing, the girls were in anticipation. Boys fight better than girls, they thought, and expected something interesting from them, but Tuka thought differently. She was generally offended by the boys. She was a ghoul. Strong and almost immortal. How could it be dangerous for her there? It was dangerous for Sasuke to fight Naruto, a ghoul. Yes, Sasuke will be knocked out in an instant. Kurashima thought. After their arguments, Naruto and Sasuke began their fight. It seemed like there was nothing supernatural about it. Regular strikes, blocks, and they didn't move as fast as Tuka and Naruto. A typical village brawl between boys. Tuka thought and rolled her eyes again. But then Hanami and Yuriko suddenly screamed and looked at the boys with eyes full of admiration. The boys' fight turned into some kind of game or movie, the girls definitely couldn't figure it out. Only computer characters could probably move like Sasuke and Naruto. They're like real ninjas, flashed through Fueguchi's mind as she watched the battle. With each blow, both Uzumaki and Uchiha's movements became faster, more precise, but so far no one had managed to strike first. To Tuka's surprise, Sasuke, seemingly an ordinary person, was very strong and fast. And it seemed to her that in this battle, Sasuke was in the lead. And so she took back her words about Sasuke flying first. The girl did the right thing by taking back her words, because Uchiha was able to dodge the blonde's strongest blow, quickly get his bearings and strike Naruto in the lower back. The former Jinchuriki flew back, stood up, as if he hadn't noticed the blow. I just tripped, Naruto commented, smiling bloodthirstily. About air? Laughed the Uchiha, just admit, Naruto, that you are nothing without the Kyuubi. Well, you're the one talking. And who are you without your Sharingan and the famous Uchiha name? Nobody. The boys hurt each other. On purpose. So they could hurt each other and not feel guilty about it later. It seemed like they always did that. The fight between Uzumaki and Uchiha became more brutal, incredible. They attacked each other with all their strength, without mercy. Commentary on Chapter 13. Training. Part 2. There will be Part 3. Anyway, I'm a lazy ass who writes in parts, but what can you do, winky face? Chapter 14. Training. Part 3. Commentary on Chapter 14. Training. Part 3. Chapter not verified. PB is open. Sorry for this nonsense that I wrote. And yes, happy March 8th, dear girls, lovely babes and generally all representatives of the fair sex. Naruto stood in front of his opponent and thought about how to grab him. Sasuke was extremely agile and fast, he simply dodged all of Naruto's attacks, this infuriated the blonde. It turns out that Sasuke Uchiha is also strong without his enhanced Genkai Sharingan. It was a bit annoying. And Sasuke was having a hard time under the onslaught of Uzumaki, but he didn't show it. He was very tired. Although Naruto couldn't catch him or hurt him, he made him sweat seriously. Each time Sasuke's legs seemed to get heavier, and the blonde still couldn't stop. Damn it, Naruto, you bastard. The guy thought. That's it. He's tired of this. It's time for Sasuke to attack now. Once again Naruto's attack, Sasuke deftly dodged, tripped and hit his opponent's neck with his elbow. He fell face down on the floor, from which Uchiha, looking arrogantly at the prone body, grinned maliciously. And the former Jinchuriki was infuriated by this. He saw a small metal fragment near him, took it and, turning over on his back, threw it at Sasuke, who did not notice it and received a blow to the stomach. Now Naruto grinned too. But the fair-haired youth decided to continue his attack. Naruto wanted to kick Sasuke, but he grabbed and pushed his leg away from himself in time and punched him in the stomach. Uchiha Sasuke is not that simple. The training battle between the two guys lasted for a few more minutes. By this time, they, scratched, with bruises just appearing on their faces, tired, with the same determination in their eyes, still did not retreat. It was painful, sometimes cruel, and even those present became scared. It seemed that they were ready to kill each other. Maybe they can be stopped already? Yuriko asked very quietly, approaching Tuka, and she seemed not to notice her. She watched this battle with surprise and delight. Everything's fine, it's just training, she said. Hanami, with her mouth half open, was also shocked as she looked at Sasuke and Naruto. She was a ghoul, and she was superior to a human in physical strength, but she knew that Fueguchi had no chance against Sasuke. She even sighed in relief. It's good that Sasuke-kun is not a CCG investigator. Meanwhile, Naruto strikes first again, aiming for the face. Sasuke's teeth seemed to be fine, but the guy himself was seriously angry. He quickly grabbed Uzumaki's wrist, pulling it towards him with force, grabbed his other hand, turned Naruto over on his back, the blonde's legs bent, and the Uchiha kicked him in the back. A painful roar and the crunch of Naruto's bones were heard throughout the room. Yuriko jumped slightly in fear, and Hanami screamed, but immediately covered her mouth with her hands. Naruto was in pain, but it was bearable. His body became stronger and this undoubtedly pleased him. Sasuke was disappointed. The guys looked at each other. Uzumaki grinned and rushed towards Uchiha. Getting ready, Sasuke took the first thing that came to his hand from the floor, and it was a metal bar that had fallen off something, and when the enemy almost came close, he hit Naruto with the bar right in the temple, causing him to fly to the side. Uzumaki lay there clutching his head, cowering in pain. Sure, he was a half-ghoul, his body like steel, but still, a blow to the head hurt like hell. His head felt like it was being cut into pieces. Hey, Naruto, Tuka ran up, how are you? This is shit, Ditabeo. Sasuke, what the hell? Naruto jumped to his feet abruptly, the left side of his head was covered in blood, he was very angry. Naruto, I'm sorry, I really didn't think that. It would be like this. Sasuke stood in place, looking at his friend with an apologetic look, while Naruto approached him with an iron bar to the head. "Ah, you Sharingan gopher." The incredibly angry blonde, approaching the brunette, grabbed him by the collar, looking at him with brightly burning scarlet eyes. "And Naruto? Your eyes, they are both Kakugan," Sasuke said in surprise. Tuka immediately ran up to them. "How can this be? You're half ghoul, half human. You must forgive us for this." The training turned out to be a bit bloodthirsty. The girl spoke calmly, she looked guilty. "It's all fine, it's my own fault. I begged you to take me with you, but you know, it was just incredible." Even though it was scary at times, the blonde hugged her friend tightly. "Well, okay, thanks for walking me home. Bye. Bye." Naruto, Sasuke, Tuka, and Hanami saw the girl off with a smile. That's strange. Are you absolutely sure you were human before the operation?" Renji looked as calm and reserved as always, and his voice was the same. "Absolutely, he will confirm." Naruto pointed at his friend sitting next to him. "I confirm. He was a human," Sasuke confirmed. "I remember exactly that his left one was a Kakugan, and his right one was human. And today both eyes are Kakugan. What could it be? A mutation? Or..." The brunette sighed heavily and covered her face with her hand. "I don't even know. No one knew how this could happen. Naruto was a half ghoul, and they only have one Kakugan, and only full ghouls have two Kakugan. Did this mean that he turned from half to full? Naruto eats the same as us, his RC cells should be as stable as ours." Yomo was confused. "So what if I have two Kakugan now?" Naruto asked as if nothing had happened, and Sasuke supported him. "Doesn't that bother you?" "Not really." "Well, if you don't care, then we won't bother ourselves." Yomo had enough of his own problems, so he didn't want to worry too much about it. "Who wants coffee?" The man got up from the sofa and headed towards the kitchen. "Me, please," the teenagers asked in unison. Tuka smiled. These guys were so strange, and funny on the other hand. The two of them were people of mystery. Well, how could a 17-year-old boy handle a ghoul so easily, be so fast and agile? And Naruto was no worse either. "Naruto, Sasuke, how do you move like that?" she asked. The boys found themselves in an awkward position. They hid their faces and scratched the back of their heads, making sounds like, eh. Well, they couldn't tell the girl that they came from another world, where they had been studying the art of shinobi since they were 6 years old. Moreover, both boys had studied with 2 legendary Sannin of the Hidden Leaf Village. They had killed bad guys, and had also been participants in the 4th Shinobi World War, where, by the way, they had won and had also staged a grand battle in the end, which even Hashirama, the first Hokage, would never have dreamed of in his worst nightmare. The situation was resolved by Uchiha. "There's not much interesting stuff in our village. To have fun, Naruto and I went to the only karate school every day. The teachers there are brilliant." "Exactly. You should have seen Gai-sensei, he is the best taijutsu master. And Kakashi-sensei can knock out 10 people even with his eyes closed. Like this, look." Naruto got into a crane stance and making sounds ee. "Hiya. Hugh." Hugh amusingly demonstrated some moves from Rock Lee's repertoire. It looked a little ridiculous and terribly funny for Tuka, which is why she even burst out laughing. Even Sasuke was not indifferent. He tried his best not to laugh out loud, covering his mouth with his fist. Wiping away tears of laughter, the girl stopped Naruto, who was also bursting into laughter, and who almost broke the TV with his foot with his movements. When she held his hand, held it very tightly, the blonde guy blushed and lowered his red face. Tuka noticed this too. She squeezed Naruto's hands very tightly. Realizing this, she cried out, "Oh, I'm sorry," and let go of Uzumaki. At this moment, someone knocked on the door of Yomo's house. Kirishima, smiling strangely stupidly, with a blush on her face, ran into the corridor. "I'll open it. Is it just me or do you always like girls with a strong punch?" Uchiha Sasuke chuckled at his friend. "Shut up, gopher." Naruto muttered discontentedly. Tuka opened the door and was surprised by the guest. A tall guy with glasses and blonde hair. "Nishiki? Hello. Long time no see." Equals 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 chapter 15. Nishiki equals 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 equals. Nishiki? Took his surprise knew no bounds. So you're alive? The girl began mockingly now, raising one eyebrow. You're the same as always, the guy shrugged, and pushing the girl away a little, he entered the apartment. By the way, I came here for you. Yo, Renji-san. Nishiki exclaimed, seeing his old friend. Hello, he greeted quietly. For me? What? Kirishima came to her senses, closing the front door. But the guy didn't listen to her. Taking off his shoes, he went into the living room of the apartment. Oh, hello, Nishio said to the strangers. Naruto and Sasuke said nothing. The boys were simply confused. Looking at each other and blinking in unison, they nodded to the guest, as if greeting him. A second later, Hanami also ran into the hall. She was very excited, but happiness was clearly reflected on the girl's face. Seeing Nishiki, she hugged him, and the guy hugged her back. Hanami! How you've grown! Nishio Nai-san. These favors did not last long. The guy needed to explain himself. A rather serious conversation ensued. Nishiki told how he had lived during these 6 months, where he had lived, and in general, the whole situation in other areas of Tokyo. I lived in the 5th and 6th districts, sometimes running into the 21st district, to Kamiya, to study. The 5th and 6th districts are dangerous, because there is a struggle between ghouls for territory and food, but the pigeons don't really go there, which was good for me. And how is your Kimi? Was she with you all the time? Tuka asked, causing Nishio to blush to his heels. Oh. This beautiful girl, the guy muttered dreamily to himself, smiling sadly, for her own safety. I decided it would be better if we didn't see each other for now. Did you break up? Let's not talk about that, okay? I'm more interested in these guys. Nishiki pointed his finger at Sasuke and Naruto. I am Uchiha Sasuke, Sasuke said in his typical pompous manner, which is why Nishio didn't like him. My name is Naruto, he exuded friendliness and peace. Tuka began to tell the story of the boys' adventures from the hospital bed to Yomo's house. Wait a minute, but there's no way you could have become a half-ghoul because of an organ transplant or a blood transfusion. Even if the donor was a ghoul, the science student thought, that's impossible. You only become a half-ghoul if you transplant a kakuhu into a person, like what happened to Kaneki. Dude, the hospital clearly didn't tell you something, Nishiki delivered his verdict. Are you sure, Nishiki? We don't really know the structure of ghouls, Yomo asked. I'm sure of it. He may be right. The doctors kept Naruto in a separate room and tried not to let anyone in, they even kept the investigator somehow. And when we escaped from the hospital, no one looked for us, although Naruto was after a major operation. Negligence of the doctors? Or did they deliberately let Naruto and me escape? Sasuke thought. This whole story seemed suspicious to him. He had to think carefully, maybe they really did transplant the kakuho, if that's the case. How did they decide to take such a big risk? These bastards, I'll kick their asses, Dadabi. Uzumaki flared up with rage. Of course, he could be understood. Someone had made a monster out of him without permission. And that someone had to be punished for it. Curb your ardor, Naruto. It's not that important now. First of all, you must learn to control yourself, and then we'll decide what to do with the doctors. Are you suggesting that I do nothing? The blonde got angry. I suggest you first learn to control yourself, and not rush into trouble, you stupid head. Who's the stupid one here, you narrow-eyed Sharingan? Sasuke covered his face with his hand. Years go by, but he doesn't change. What a fool he is. Okay, there's no point in arguing with him any further. Nishiki, watching the guys, sighed theatrically, adjusted his glasses beautifully, as the absolute majority of bespectacled people do, and said, Naruto, you have a Bikaku, just like me, and I think I can help you master the Kagun. Naruto's eyes lit up from the boy's words, drooling began to flow from his mouth, there was no limit to his happiness. Really? Kirishima was surprised, but if so, then that's great. I have to prepare for admission, And I was also messing around with them, and now this burden falls on your shoulders. Thank you, Nishiki. What? You thanked me? Seriously? Did anyone film it? You're an idiot, the girl hit Nishio on the back of the head. You have a heavy hand for a girl, Nishiki muttered, stroking the back of his head. By the way, here, these are my notes from my first year, they should come in handy. He thrust a small bag of thick notebooks with 48 pages into the girl's hands. Thank you, it was unexpected, so Tuka was a little confused. I don't need them anyway. Well? When do we start your training? He clapped his hands. Yes, even right now. I'm always ready. Excellent. And yes, you can call me Nishio-sensei, he said, smiling broadly and holding his head high. And at that moment the happiest person in the house was Yomorenji, who was making coffee in the kitchen. Everything had worked out so well. He had brought Nishiki back, and made Hanami happy, and helped Tuka and Naruto. Now I can stop worrying about it and start taking action. I can't, Naruto repeated for the 5th time. Tuka made a completely indifferent face. She didn't care anymore. She had enough of her own problems, preparing for the upcoming exams and teaching Hanami. Unlike the first, the second was easy for her, because Hanami was a very smart girl. You should eat at least once a week, Sasuke said wearily. How tired he was. That fool Naruto. I told you, I can't. When I imagined that this meat is che, he didn't finish the word, Sasuke, you won't understand. Every time Naruto said these words, he tried to eat normal food. And normal food for him was ramen. He poured boiling water into a plastic plate, covered it and waited. He waited, hoping that he would be able to eat the ramen. Ghouls can drink coffee, so they can eat ramen too. And so, when the long-awaited 5 minutes had passed, he opened the lid, picked up the chopsticks and immediately started with the noodles. How awful and disgusting it was. He remembered Sakura's red life-giving pills. I'm ready to eat Sakura's life-giving pills for the rest of my life. And not disgusting ramen or human flesh. There were problems with food, of course, but the training that Nishiki organized was very successful. In a month, Naruto learned to release his Kagun and somehow control it. How did you do that, damn Nishiki? Tuka asked, hurt that Nishio had managed to train the half-ghoul, while she hadn't, even though she had tried to help. Damn Tuka, you know, Naruto is a bit dense. He doesn't need to be explained so that he understands, he won't get it anyway. He's the type who learns by doing. Sasuke told me that and he was right. I see, the brunette answered thoughtfully. By the way, thanks to your notes I got 87 points in biology. Thank you. You're welcome, I promised to help you with admission anyway, and I keep my word. The next day, when Tuka and Naruto went with Hanami to get some documents, and Sasuke, zombified by the computer and the internet, not noticing anything around him and not leaving the room, Nishiki came. He had one important and serious conversation with Yomo, which the others should not know about, for their own safety. Well, why did you call? I'm going to save the boss, Rinji began immediately. He's at Aogiri's, that's all I know. What? So he's alive? Are you sure? Didn't he stay in Antiku to hold off the pigeons? I thought the CCG killed him. Yes, but then the real L appeared and took him away. What are you talking about? Yomo became very serious and at the same time very sad. He knew quite a lot, this information was entrusted to him by Yoshimura. It was his secret, Rinji promised not to tell, but what can you do? Besides, he trusted Nishio implicitly, without knowing why. I'll tell you everything if you help me. You know, you've always been mysterious, Yomo-san, Nishiki chuckled, then grew quiet, thoughtful, and smiled again. I owe a lot to this old man.